Hey guys, welcome to Reflight. We're watching the launch of, as you can tell, SES-10. This SpaceX is going to be SpaceX's first reflown booster, which means of course it's already flown. And it's reflown, but it's going to fly again. This is the first one around C-39A. There she is.
It's March 30th, 2017, 6:08 p.m. Eastern, 10:08 p.m. UTC. You're looking at a live view of a recovered Falcon 9 rocket on the SpaceX launch pad as it awaits its second launch since landing back in April 2016. Welcome to today's webcast of the SpaceX SES-10 mission from Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. My name is Kate Tice, and I'm a certification engineer here at SpaceX. I'm currently standing in front of our Mission Control Center in Hawthorne, California. Today, we're really excited to bring you what we hope will be the world's first reflight of an orbital-class rocket. The first stage of Falcon 9 you see on the pad was previously flown back in April of 2016 as the first stage of a cargo resupply mission to the International Space Station. It was also the first rocket we successfully landed on our drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. We successfully brought the rocket back to land, put it through a litany of testing and analysis, made some adjustments, and today that same rocket is primed to loft the SES-10 satellite to its geostationary transfer orbit, which you'll hear is called GTO throughout the webcast. Today's launch will be our third launch for SES. The first was SES-8 back in December of 2013, and the most recent was SES-9 in March of last year. And as with previous GTO flights, we'll be attempting to recover the first stage on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is stationed off the coast of Florida in the Atlantic Ocean. If successful, this mission will mark the first landing of a recovered rocket. Today's reflight of the Falcon 9 rocket is a historic first. The vast majority of rockets don't even attempt to come back in one piece, much less fly again. It's an incredibly difficult challenge, and we'll talk about what went into getting the previously flown rocket ready for relaunch and what today means for the future of space. Of course, we'll bring you live coverage of the mission itself as we count down to our anticipated 6:27 p.m. Eastern liftoff time. It's an incredibly exciting day here at SpaceX. You can hear the excitement in the crowd behind me. We really appreciate you tuning in to share this with us. So let's get started.
Good afternoon, my name is Tom Prodario, and I'm a firmware engineer in the avionics department here at SpaceX. Now on your screen you can currently see the Falcon 9 rocket as it prepares to take the SES-10 spacecraft into a geostationary transfer orbit. Currently, this is the world's first reflight of a flight-proven rocket. And the part that we're reusing today is this first stage, and that makes up the portion from the very bottom of the rocket all the way to about right here. Now, on April 8th of last year, this exact same first stage carried a Dragon spacecraft on a mission to low Earth orbit and to rendezvous with the space station. And then, of course, after the dropped off the Dragon, it was able to be recovered on the autonomous spaceport drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. Since then, SpaceX has recovered 8 stages, 5 of which have been recovered on our drone ship fleet, and 3 via our landing zones on land. However, today will be the first time we've ever tried to refly one of these first stages. On top of that first stage, the second stage of the rocket makes up this portion right here, and at the very top there's a fairing. Inside that fairing is the SES-10 spacecraft. As you can see, that first stage makes up a pretty significant portion of the height of the rocket, and it actually makes up about 80% of the cost. And this isn't just from the structure and the tanks, but it's also from those 9 Merlin engines at the very bottom of the rocket. Keep in mind that even though this is the first time that we've ever tried to reuse one of these first stages, the entire Falcon 9 rocket has been designed with reusability in mind from the very beginning. All components on that reflown first stage are verified to the same exact levels of those on a new rocket. And while there is some inherent risk in doing something that's never been done before, there also is an inherent advantage in the fact that this first stage has flown successfully before. As I mentioned, that second stage is brand new, and the fairing on top of it is ready to carry the second SES-10 spacecraft into a geostationary transfer orbit. You can follow along with the mission progress at the progress bar at the very bottom of your screen, and you can keep track of the time as we get closer to countdown by following the mission countdown clock at the upper right-hand corner of your screen. You should be looking forward to a launch in just a few minutes from now.
Good afternoon from Hawthorne, California. I'm John Isbrucker, Falcon 9 Principal Integration Engineer, and I'm at the webcast desk in SpaceX headquarters. Now, as I've done before, I'll be bringing you status updates during today's countdown and as we fly out into space carrying SES-10 on the Falcon 9. Now what everybody wants to know right off of the bat is, how are we doing? The good news is right now the Falcon 9 team is not working any significant issues. We are looking for an on-time launch at 27 minutes after the hour. Now the SpaceX team has put in a lot of hard work, especially in this case where we put in extra reviews for today's first ever reflight of an entire orbital class rocket. Now on the Falcon 9 side, we rolled to the pad late Wednesday night, went vertical at T-minus 14 and a half hours. That allowed our customer to do their pre-launch checkouts with the SES-10 spacecraft. As is typical with the launches from 39A at Kennedy Space Center, we began loading propellant at T-minus 70 minutes. Now we've currently got RP-1 kerosene fuel loaded on the second stage, and we've essentially completed it on the first stage. There's a little bit of topping off left to go, but we'll finish that up in the last minutes of the count. Liquid oxygen loading is going on to both stages right now. We're actually in a pause period up until T-minus 10 minutes while we load the last bit of high-pressure helium gas into storage vessels on both the first stage and the second stage. Now on the spacecraft side, the SES team has transferred to internal power. They're doing their last checks, making sure everything is go for launch. They're working no issues also right now. On the range side, they're ready to support. The airspace and the ocean area around the launch site are clear, ready to support launch. And weather, we're watching the ground winds, but currently at T-minus 12 minutes and 8 seconds, everything is go.
Falcon 9 is just a few minutes away from launching SES-10, which is the 11th telecommunications satellite in the SES family, and the third SES satellite that SpaceX will put into orbit. SES-10 will replace existing satellites AMC-3 and AMC-4 to provide enhanced coverage and significant capacity expansion over Latin America. Specifically, SES-10 will provide coverage over over Mexico, serve the Spanish-speaking South America in one single beam, and cover Brazil as well. We'll be delivering SES-10 to geostationary transfer orbit, which is a place in space that's roughly 36,000 kilometers away from Earth. Following delivery to GTO, SES will use its own onboard thrusters to adjust its position and transfer from GTO to its final geostationary orbit, also known as GEO. Geostationary orbit is up so high that the satellite actually orbits planet Earth at the same speed that the planet rotates. So that makes the satellite appear as though it's a fixed point in the sky. The SES-10 satellite was built by Airbus Defence and Space, which is a division of Airbus Group and its headquarters in Toulouse, France. SES-10 is the 45th satellite based on Airbus's reliable Eurostar E3000 platform, and the 10th to use electric propulsion for station keeping. That basically means that it'll be using its own onboard thrusters to stay in the spot where it's supposed to be. The SES-10 satellite has a mass of 4,300 kilograms, a spacecraft power of 13 kilowatts, and is designed for a nominal in-orbit life of more than 15 years. Today's launch has a window of approximately 2.5 hours, and we're expecting the launch right at the top of that window at 6:27 p.m. Eastern. For those of you who aren't familiar, every launch has a launch window during which meeting all the requirements for the payload tend to be a little easier. For SES-10, this window helps ensure that SES-10 will arrive into orbit with the sunlight actually hitting its solar rays, which is important for better recharging purposes.
While there are 1,000 ways for a rocket to fail, there is only one way for it to succeed. To this end, we at SpaceX put all of our vehicles through every imaginable kind of test to ensure the highest chance of reliability on launch day. Typically, the two types of failure modes that we get are separated into two different types of classes. The first class is one that's related to manufacturing errors or defects, and the second class is one that's related more to material fatigue and wear out. To mitigate that first type, we perform a litany of tests to make sure that those first stages and second stages are 100% reliable and to weed out as many of those manufacturing defects as we can. However, the greatest mitigating factor is the fact that a rocket has already flown before. Here you can see footage of this exact same rocket back in April of 2016. During this mission, it was taking a Dragon spacecraft up to the International Space Station. And as you know, after it was finished with that mission, it came back down and was recovered on our autonomous spaceport drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. Now, as far as tests go, we try to keep our tests as flight-like as possible. And there really is nothing more flight-like than any true flight itself. After the flight, we also put this vehicle through extensive ground testing, additional testing, at our Texas test site to further increase the possibility of success on our launch day. Now, recovering this vehicle allows us to also mitigate the second type of failures, those fatigue and wear-out failures, by allowing us to open up the rocket and we can inspect components, make sure that all of our models are correct, make sure that certain components aren't wearing out any faster than we'd expect, and if they are, we can use those to improve the design and make changes in the next generation of the rocket. Now, with all this in mind, all spaceflight is extremely challenging, and this launch will be no less challenging because it's the first time we've tried to refly one of these recovered boosters. However, if you've been following SpaceX, you know that full and rapid reusability is our mantra. To this end, we got in touch with our president, Gwen Shotwell, and asked her a few questions about just why reusable spaceflight is so important to the future of humanity.
So this mission with this pre-flown booster for SES-10 is the fundamental key demonstration that our technology is capable of reflight. First of all, it's an absolutely historic activity that we're about to go do. No one has ever done this before. Given the goals of SpaceX are to provide space transportation to allow people to move to other planets. We're not one-way trip to Mars people. We want to make sure that whoever we take can come back. And from that perspective, you need to have a reusable system. We want to provide a full transportation system, and that doesn't mean one way, that means two ways. This vehicle that we're about ready to fly here, we recovered it last year, and we spent about 4 months to bring that vehicle to the place where we were comfortable launching it here today. That's reusable, but we're really looking for true operational reusability, like an aircraft. An aircraft lands, goes to the gate, passengers go off, passengers come on, you refuel, and then you fly again. And so what we're looking to do is exactly that. We land and relaunch on the same day. Critically, you have to design the first stage to take the number of pressure cycles that it will see in multiple launches. The final vehicle design spin that we're doing on Falcon 9 that we'll be flying later this year, that should be capable of up to 10 or even more. This is the task at hand. It's a problem to solve, and that's what engineers do. They take a problem that's hard to solve, and they go solve it and ultimately make it operational, which is really what we're going to see here today. SpaceX and SES have a long and successful relationship. They did not hesitate. They knew a previously flown booster was available, and they kind of snatched it up. So I think it says a lot about SES as a company. This will be written up. This is a historic event.
As Gwen mentioned, reusability is the fundamental breakthrough needed to reduce the cost of access to space. A fully and rapidly reusable rocket, which has never been done before, is the key to establishing not just outposts, but sustaining cities on other planets. The Falcon 9 currently carries a list price of approximately $62 million US. However, the cost of fuel for each flight is only around $200,000 to $300,000. That's about 0.4% of the total cost. The majority of the launch cost comes from building the rocket, which, if it only flies once, obviously makes for a very expensive ride. However, recovering and reusing the rocket multiple times, the way that a commercial aircraft is reused over and over and over again, significantly reduces the cost of an individual flight, since the capital expenditure to build the vehicle can be spread out over many flights. Being able to reuse the rocket has the potential to dramatically reduce the cost of launch, which is the key to establishing a city on Mars. We need to get the cost of launch down to a level where a critical mass of people can actually afford to go. With reusability, we believe that over time, it's possible to get the cost of a ticket to Mars close to $100,000. And today's launch is a key milestone in our journey to the Red Planet. So you can see why everyone is so excited here at SpaceX, including the crowd as it grows around us. Let's go for a status update with John.
T-minus 4 minutes and 42 seconds and continuing to count down for an on-time launch at 27 minutes after the hour of Falcon 9 carrying SES-10. Now we're in the last minutes of the countdown, where we use automated sequences, scripts, where the ground and the flight computers are sending commands to the various systems to get us ready for liftoff. Now, as typical, at T-minus 7 minutes, the Falcon 9 began chilling in the Merlin 1D engines when we opened the pre-valves to allow liquid oxygen to the inlet to the turbopumps, get them cold for the time when we command ignition of the Merlin engines in the last seconds of the countdown. Now, next major activities coming up as we pass the 4-minute mark will begin to retract the strong back away from the Falcon 9 in about 10 seconds. The clamps will open up, and then we will take about a minute to move the strong back about 1.5 degrees away from the Falcon 9. This is our new sequence we've used for the flights from Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. At liftoff, hydraulics will then pull the strong back away from the vehicle. That'll help the umbilicals disengage from the second stage in the payload fairing as Falcon 9 heads to space. Liquid oxygen loading is continuing. We'll finish loading LOX into the first stage at about T-minus 3 minutes. LOX will finish loading into the second stage at about T-minus 2. Fuel is loaded on both stages. We're closed out. That looks good. In the last minute, you're going to hear the call out. We'll listen in together. Startup. That means the flight computers are now in control of the sequence. It'll end up at T0 when we've checked that we're at full power and we release the Falcon 9 to flight. The SES team, they are go. They've done their last checks. The range is go. The weather, we keep watching the winds, but everybody is go right now. So T-minus 2 minutes and 40 seconds and counting. Let's listen and watch together the last minutes of the countdown of Falcon 9 carrying SES-10 to space.
2.5 minutes and 10 seconds. Go. You can see that's the view from the tower, the old space shuttle facilities.
Stage 2 lock secured. Falcon 9's on internal power. MID fuel bleed complete.
That's the SES logo paint on the side of the fairing.
Vehicles in self-align.
1.5 minutes until takeoff.
Stage 1 and Stage 2 cryo-helium secured for flight.
There's 1 minute 15 seconds.
FTS announced AFTS is ready for launch.
AFTS is ready for launch.
BC verify F9 is in startup.
Falcon 9's in startup. Stage 1 and Stage 2 press
LD verifies go for launch, go for age of reflight.
Okay. Vehicles start. The vehicles in start 40 seconds.
T-minus 30. T-minus 20.
20.
Falcon 9 is configured for flight.
T-minus 10.
10, 9,
8,
7, 6,
5, 4, 3, 2,
ignition. Lift off with a Falcon, first recovered Falcon 9 from Launch Complex 39A. Okay, now. Well, this thing does speed up quickly because it's a Latina rocket. What do you expect? There you can see the different launch pads.
Falcon 9 power and telemetry nominal.
Coming up on T+1 minute into flight. A lot of cheering here in Hawthorne. We're throttling the engines down as we get ready for maximum dynamic pressure on the vehicle.
Yeah, passive is it doesn't feel like it's good.
We're at T plus 1 minute and 30 seconds. We're throttled back up. Falcon 9 continues to head downrange. Trajectory is nominal. We're past maximum dynamic pressure. That's the portion of the flight where the velocity of the vehicle combines with the density of the atmosphere at lower altitudes to put the greatest stresses on the Falcon 9. We're through that critical phase of flight. The next major event coming up in about 35 seconds, main engine cutoff. Coming up in about 20 seconds, we'll shut down the 9 Merlin engines, separate the first stage, and light the upper stage.
Don't think the atmosphere hasn't landed. Hasn't taken his orbit. Very near Nico. And Miko. And stage separation. And upper stage ignition. Now, you can see the upper stage pulling away as the lower stage begins to flip around.
A lot of cheering in the background. T plus 3 minutes and counting. First stage successfully has separated. Second stage is up on power. Trajectory looks nominal. All systems continue to be go. Next major activity in about 20 seconds. We're going to look for fairing separation around the SES-10 spacecraft.
And fairness up. SES-10
Payload fairing has successfully separated. The MVAC engine continues to power the upper stage into the low Earth parking orbit. Engine looks good, the trajectory looks good. We're at T plus 4 minutes and the flight continues to be go.
So what we've had so far is a successful launch of Falcon 9 carrying SES-10. First stage has separated from second stage. That's what you see on the left-hand side of your screen. That's the first stage. Coming back down once again. This is the second time we've launched it. This is the second time we're attempting to land it on our drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You, which is in the Atlantic Ocean.
While that first stage is coming back down, that second stage is when you continue thrusting for a few minutes, carrying the SES-10 spacecraft into geostationary transfer orbit. But coming up, we're going to be tracking the first stage as it approaches our drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You.
Yes. Now, we're going to have 2 events called out pretty quickly. We'll try to narrate those as they're notified to us. We will have the landing as well as the engine coast, the cutoff, or excuse me, the engine shutdown. So we're going to try to narrate that for you as much as we can. We also might lose the video feed of the first stage as it re-lands on the drone ship, as we have seen happen before.
You can see that first stage coasting back right now. Sometimes we do 3 burn maneuvers, doing a boost back burn and then a re-entry burn and a landing burn. Today, we're just doing a re-entry burn and a landing burn. So what we're doing is we're catching that first stage with the drone ship as it makes its way out on a parabolic trajectory over the Atlantic Ocean.
Exactly. Now, since planet Earth is a sphere, as the rocket descends onto the drone ship, we lose the horizon. As it goes over under the horizon line, the ground stations may lose the communication feed with the drone ship. So we're going to hopefully bring you live footage. We see what you see, and hopefully we'll all see a successful landing once again all together.
We do have cameras on the deck of course, I Still Love You, but they're on a satellite link. So again, those vibrations from that first stage coming down may jostle the satellite link, so we can't get all the video all the way down. Just be prepared for it. But right now we are still tracking that SES spacecraft and the second stage. Looks like everything's going well so far.
Yeah, primary mission is SES-10, and it's looking great thus far. So let's go up to John I for a status update.
T plus 6 minutes, 13 seconds into flight. All goes well. We're going to listen for the start of the entry burn coming up in just a few seconds.
This is scheduled stage entry burn has begun. It's not plasma, it also kind of acts as a heat shield.
We have start of entry burn.
There is some
Just under 20 seconds.
In your face danger, that situation.
And shutdown. Entry burn. Looks like we've got a good burn. The first stage on its way back to the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean, slowing down as it heads for the atmosphere. Second stage continues to be on target. Propulsion looks good. Everything continues to be go. It's 7 minutes and 5 seconds into flight. So we're going to go back down to the floor as we get ready for the landing of the first stage in the orbit of the second stage.
Video feed.
As you just heard and saw, the first stage's re-entry burn has just completed. Looks like the video isn't moving right now. Like we said, we're going to have some difficulty getting video as it makes its way down underneath the horizon of our ground stations. But coming up very soon is going to be that landing burn. That's the final burn that happens just a few hundred feet off the deck of our drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You.
Yeah. Now that drone ship you see on the right-hand side of your screen, that is live footage. And like we said, it's out in the Atlantic Ocean. So we're going to try and maintain that steady feed as the rocket descends, which is just in a couple of seconds here. Like I said before, literally just 4 or 5 seconds after we have stage landing, we should have indication as to the second engine cutoff, meaning that the second stage with SES-10 is in good orbit. But right now we're just watching our screen here, waiting to see
you should at least see the Falcon.
It looks like we may not have continuous video feed from the drone ship right now. Like we said, this is expected. We don't currently have direct line of sight with that drone ship. We only have a satellite link, and as it gets down kind of close, that Merlin engine can vibrate the satellite link. And sometimes we can lose video. So just stay put here. We're going to let you know.
Well, it turns out they did the thing. Just judging from that right out person. Yes. There she is. The second time. Yeah, it's the same bullshit now.
That's unbelievable. This is the second time that we have seen this first stage come back and land on that drone ship. Incredible stuff. With Elon, who's been watching along with the launch flare, and see what he has to say.
There's Elon.
3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, well, we just had an incredible day today.
The first reflight of an orbital class booster did its mission perfectly, dropped off the second stage, came back and landed on the drone ship right in the bullseye. It's an amazing day, I think, for space as a whole, for the space industry. It means you can fly and refly an orbit class booster, which is the most expensive part of the rocket. This is going to be ultimately a huge revolution in spaceflight. It's the difference between if you had airplanes where you threw away an airplane after every flight versus you could reuse them multiple times. So it's been 15 years to get to this point. It's taken us a long time. A lot of difficult steps along the way, but I'm just incredibly proud of the SpaceX team for being able to achieve this I think, incredible milestone in the history of space.
Just your wondering, you didn't plan the speech.
Yeah, I'm sort of at a loss for words, but it's really a great day, not just for SpaceX, but for the space industry as a whole, and proving that something can be done that many people said was impossible. Thank you.
As a middle finger.
So this is fantastic news for everyone here at SpaceX and for humanity in general. We are so happy. Remember, the primary mission to get SES-10 into geostationary transfer orbit is currently good. We have a good orbit, and that's the primary mission we should be focusing on, even though we're really excited for the landing.
So now that the second stage engine has cut off, SES-10 and the second stage are now in what we call a parking orbit. It's going to go into a coast phase for a few minutes, at which point we're going to take a break in our webcast. However, we hope you stick with us and come back in a few minutes so that we can all watch a hopeful successful deployment of SES-10 into geostationary transfer orbit.
Stick around.
We'll pause this video and I'll see you guys into the webcast. See that?
We're T plus 26 minutes and 5 seconds into the flight. Everything continues to go well with Falcon 9. Second stage is passing over the equator on the west coast of Africa. We're about to relight the upper stage engine to put SES-10 into the geotransfer orbit. Let's listen into the countdown now.
Flames about starting soon. That's what I can tell.
Ignition of the upper stage engine. Initial data looks like a good burn on the MVAC-D engine. Currently, we are in low Earth orbit. We're going just about 7.4 kilometers per second. We're now going to build up velocity to over 9.5 kilometers per second. With a 210,000 pound thrust engine, you add a lot of impulse in a short amount of time. This burn will last a little under 1 minute. We're throttling down now to keep loads as designed on the spacecraft. We're waiting to hear the call out of the shutdown.
Yes, you're right, my friend. I think that's in the shutdown.
We've got shutdown on the upper stage engine. Duration looks about as planned. We're waiting to hear a call out now on how the final transfer orbit looks. Initial data looks like we've got a good enough orbit. Still waiting to hear the call out, but some of the data that I've got on the screen looks like we're where we want to be. So the second stage is now in geostationary transfer orbit, carrying SES-10 still made it to the top of the second stage. The next major event's going to come at about T plus 32 minutes when we command spacecraft separation. Now that's still a few minutes from now, so we're going to go back to the animation, but we'll come back with the team to cover with you the separation of SES-10 and the conclusion of the Falcon 9 mission.
Alright, once again, pause until pretty close to the deploy. See that?
Sticking with us through the break. Just a quick recap. We had a successful launch of Falcon 9. That the second stage is in a good orbit.
we are all super excited here at SpaceX because that was the world's first reflight of an orbital class booster.
Alright, SES-10 has deployed ahead of schedule.
You can see on your screen right there on the right the SES-10 spacecraft gliding away from the second stage. That is a camera at the top of the second stage. That's a successful mission right there. Successful launch, we had a successful first stage landing, we had a successful payload separation. Everyone's very happy here at SpaceX today. We are all about full and rapid reusability, and today was a very important milestone in getting that technology to a critical usability phase.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Thank you to SES, our customer, as always, the FAA.
You can hear the excitement in the air here right now. Make sure to check out our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and of course, SpaceX.com, where hopefully we'll be posting some fantastic, high-quality videos of that amazing second landing on the first stage.
Launching a rocket that had already previously landed and also landed it once again, while completing a successful mission for SES-10.
From SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, thank you so much.
Alright then. That was launch of SES-10. First reflown Falcon 9 on Boston 25. Goodbye.